Meet Your Maker was a game I was actually really looking forward to. I tried to stay away from the details after watching some of the trailers and things like that, and I wanted to go into it completely blind. Mistakenly though, I thought this was a game like Doom, right? It looked very much like it. It's very similar in terms of enemy design and stuff like that, and obviously the overall aesthetic of the world and stuff is sort of like the end of the world and things like that, and it was a massive mistake to think like that. Today I wanted to speak about Meet Your Maker, my first impressions playing through it the first couple of hours, and ultimately dictate to you whether you should avoid it, shortlist it, or straight up go ahead and buy it. If you've played Meet Your Maker, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, because I'd be very interested to know, because I've got my thoughts which can be very interesting and sometimes quite controversial, so let me know yours down below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well if you enjoy story-based content, lore breakdowns and stuff like that. We do loads of that on the channel, and April is a massively jam-packed month full of games with great stories coming out towards the end of the month, and a couple around the middle, so be sure to stick around for those. And of course you'll find the subscribe button just below the like button. So without further ado everyone, let's dive straight in to the review of Meet Your Maker. I'm a little bit lower down in this video because, as you can see, I've got a prime gaming chair. I somehow broke my other one and it's completely snapped from its bottom half, so we're stuck on the kitchen table chair for now. Meet Your Maker is not what I expected. A survival puzzle game where the main goal is for people to create maps with traps, placing different enemy types throughout to prevent you from making your way through and collecting that prized possession at the end. Anyone is able to go in there and create maps, and the goal is for those maps to rack up as many deaths as possible, and the higher the deaths, the higher rated the map, the better the map is, and that's exactly what the map creator's intention is going into Meet Your Maker, to make you die loads of times trying to get through it. Now, I've never really dabbled too much in the map creation process in this or any of the other games that offer that type of creation or creativity. It's never really been my thing. I just played through it and suffered on other people's maps. I like to compare Meet Your Maker to Marmite. I fucking despise Marmite, but my friends and family seem to love it for some reason. This is exactly what this game will do to you. Some will stick with it, get used to the mechanics, get used to where things are and where they're positioned, and learn to appreciate and enjoy the game. Whereas others will probably jump into it within the first 30 minutes and just get extremely sick of the repetitiveness of the game, dying constantly. It's like Marmite, you either like it or you don't, and Meet Your Maker is the perfect comparison to make with that exact thing. You either hate it or you really learn to appreciate it. I played around 10 maps and 10 raids is what they're called, managed to get through 9 of them, with the 10th one being so difficult I had to abandon it, with all being very different in its nature. The creativity, the difference between the different maps, you're never going to play a map which is the same. Every one of them is going to be completely different in its nature. It's going to have different corridors, the traps, the enemies inside are all going to be placed in different areas, so you've really got to be careful when going through. And if you can make it through one of them without dying once, well done. Well done, you deserve a medal. You can have the lower difficulties where the maps are pretty much solely based around there being just traps to avoid and traps on every angle. You have the slightly higher difficulty where there'll be more mobs and more enemy AI on the map as well. You've also got to avoid, as well as these traps around the map. And then the final difficulty, the hardest one, is one where it's just a combination of both and just a complete clusterfuck of everything, really. The story of Meet Your Maker is actually pretty interesting as well, and it pulled me in when I first booted up the game and heard them speaking about it. An end-of-the-world setting on a broken planet, running around facilities collecting resources in order to try and find a cure for something that's killing everything. No humans have really survived. The way to find a cure for this end-of-the-world scenario is to basically cure something called GenMat. GenMat is found at the end of all of these maps that you play, so the goal is to go into these maps, avoid all of the traps, kill all of the enemies, obtain the GenMat, and then make your way out of there whilst avoiding the exit traps and also enemies. So that's the goal of it. You go back to the HQ at the end, you deposit the GenMat, you upgrade your gear, and your goal is to strengthen something called a Chimera. The Chimera is the key to the cure or something along those lines, and the more you play, the more GenMat you obtain, the more XP you unlock, the higher the level you go, the more this Chimera evolves essentially. And I can only presume as the higher level you get, you learn more around the story, and the ending will probably be quite cool. But it's just, the only problem with it is that the gameplay loop is just not it, Chief. It's not very good. It's very repetitive in its nature. Obviously, you're going to play a different map every time. The layout is going to be different. The surprises, the traps, the placement of the AI and things is going to be different. But the overall concept of the game is so samey. And for me, that's why it's a pretty hard sell for some people. Look, for me, I can deal with dying a shitload of times if it means that I need to learn the game. I need to become one with how and where people will probably place these traps, where the enemy AI are going to be, how to effectively take them out. I'm all down for learning that sort of stuff, as long as the gameplay loop is fun and engaging and potentially not monotonous. And I can see this becoming extremely monotonous. The Meet Your Maker gameplay loop is this. You start off in your HQ, you go to this table, this war table, you choose your raid, you spawn into this raid in the middle of nowhere, you go into this facility or this map that's been created, you find the gen mat. Once you've found it and you've extracted, you go back to the HQ, and then you do the same again over and over and over again. As I've mentioned, yes, the maps are different. Yes, you can upgrade weapons. Yes, you can upgrade the different things around and building maps and stuff. But the concept is that the whole gameplay loop is the same thing, and it will become extremely monotonous over time. Yes, you do find resources. You find currency throughout as well that will allow you to level up and buy those different weapons, and even allow you to upgrade your gear and the AI and new traps and things for your building maps. But if you're someone like me that doesn't really dabble into that, and you're more interested in the story and trying to get into the game, the gameplay loop just, it makes it really difficult to do that. Look, I can't sit here and tell you the ending of the story because I didn't play it for long enough, and I probably don't intend on playing it for long enough to learn the end, because it's just a very repetitive game in its nature. But if you guys have got that far, let me know in the comments down below what happens. I'll be interested to know. At first, I hated Meet Your Maker, wondered how anyone would sit through and play this. It's just torture. Why would you go into something and just consistently want to die and die and die over and over again, and then finally do it for not a very big reward? That's the only problem with Meet Your Maker for me. I feel like the overall concept could have been heightened by giving you additional objectives, rather than just obtaining this singular thing that's the same on every single map. I would walk into a facility, immediately die. I would finally kill the enemy that killed me, then I would immediately die by a trap. I would then go back into it for the third time or the fourth time at this point, kill the enemy, take out the trap, and then die by another trap around the corner. The first map must have took me 25 to 30 minutes to get through and to play through, and I understand, yes, it's a part of the game. That's a me problem for not understanding the mechanics sooner, but it's very frustrating and it can really turn people off. I was playing on my living room TV, high response time, nothing MLG or gamer nerdy, didn't have my PC to play on and to flick around corners and things. I was just being a casual at that time. And even then, when I extracted, I'd play the next one and it would be the same thing. It wasn't until the first hour of gameplay that I actually thought, okay, I'm really starting to appreciate here what the game is about. It was at this stage where I began to learn and anticipate where traps would be placed, and by the map creators and the devs themselves, how to effectively dodge the traps and even the enemy AI. If I'd run out of ammo with my weapon, how could I effectively kill and destroy things with my melee weapon? And if I was eventually able to almost speedrun through the maps, and it felt extremely rewarding doing so, looking at where these traps are going to be, anticipating them above me, below me, to the left and the right, and dodging the grapple hook that came out to me, dodging the arrows that were fired at me, and the enemies around the corners. The thing about this game is that it forces your mind to always be on guard. Slowly moving through the corridors is just not enough at this point. It's even giving you the option to lean around corners, using the two sticks, allowing you to be able to see what is around there and what's around your next step, so you can plan your next move. And that's what this game is, very strategic in planning what you're going to do. There are plenty of areas of these maps that you can get lost in. The map creators can lead you around a certain corner, which makes you feel like that's where the gen map's going to be, but really it's a dead end with a trap at the end. This is the type of thing you've really got to be on guard for. But even if you can see your end goal, you feel as though all of the traps are disabled, you've took them all out, you've outsmartened the map creator, there's always that one chance that there's a floor trap at the end or a wall trap you didn't see initially, and it will be so frustrating, but it will give you that realization that you do need to be wired. Even if you do collect the gen mat, the traps reset and everything changes for your way out. After 2 hours of gameplay of Meet Your Maker, I became accepting that I'm probably going to die a shitload of times. However, the more I played it, the more I became accustomed to the placement of the traps, the enemy AI and how they work, the more I appreciated what the developers were trying to make here. And the gameplay loop itself, although I think it's boring, repetitive and will be monotonous over time, it's done to make you suffer in order to learn how the game works. Meet Your Maker is free with PlayStation Plus, download it and give it a go with no regrets of putting your credit card details in. But on Steam and Xbox, to buy the game, luckily it isn't a full $60 game because I would not be able to recommend it if that was the case. But for $25 or £25, if you're someone like me that likes to get into games, even be more creative and build something, like if you like Halo Infinite Forge or you're into the Unreal Editor or Creator, this might be interesting for you to dabble into, create these new maps and try to get the best one on the market. And for that $25 or £25, you're getting hours and hours of gameplay and experiences. Almost unlimited maps and scenarios that you can create because anyone can create them. You can play co-op with friends through these maps as well if you have a friend that wants to dabble in that too. You can even create maps with friends, create them on your own. Be as creative as you really want to. And this game allows you to do that all for $25 or £25. It is just the gameplay loop is not good enough for me. However, of course, the question you're all here for, should you avoid Meet Your Maker, shortlist it, or go ahead and straight up buy it? Well, personally, I would shortlist Meet Your Maker if you don't have PlayStation Plus or if you're on a different platform. If you do have PlayStation Plus, get it now. Why not? Give it a go and see what you think. But if you don't, I would wait it out a little bit. I would see how the game evolves over time, over the first few weeks. You could have way more maps to play, way more fun experiences to enjoy in the next couple of weeks as opposed to the day one or the first week. And it could help you not feel shortchanged by the lack of content and the monotonous gameplay loop if you were to wait it out slightly. But that is going to be it for today, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below on what you thought of Meet Your Maker if you've played it, and if you've not, what do you think of the review, the comments I've made in this game? And yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. But make sure you leave a like, everyone, if you have gone on to enjoy. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're brand new. It'd be very much appreciated. As I mentioned at the start of the video, there's so much content coming in the next couple of days and weeks. So be sure to stick around for that. This could be a busy time on the channel. But without further ado, everyone, we'll see you all next time.